So can we do this question of can we do this question right now? Yes. Can we find out the IRR of this? Hello. We didn't do this one, huh, Zarina? Hello.
No, sir.
Okay, let's start from here. Okay, please try to solve this question. The following facts relate to the proposed capital budget. Okay, the proposed So the following facts relate to a proposed capital budgeting project. Initial investment is 1,50,000. 5 years is project life. Hurdle rate is 8%, and annual after-tax cash flow is 39,900. So very simply, if you want to find out now they are saying to find out the IRR. Fine. So what we are doing here is first let us find out the NPV. So NPV, it's very clear that this is a project which would last 5 years and the hurdle rate is 8%. That is the minimum required rate of return what you desire. Correct? Isn't it so? Hello? So what they are saying, the procedure to find out the IRR, let's see what procedure they're following. They are asking you to divide the 1,50,000 whatever the investment you have done by your annual cash flow of 39,000. Correct? So the result is 3.846. Then they are asking you to see the present value table. Okay. So when we see the present value table, we have to see this 3.846 lies between what and what percentage. I'll show you. This is present value annuity table 3.846. So what I'm saying is 3.846 lies between 3.605, that is for 5 years, correct? 3.605 and 3.890. See 3.846. This is lying between what? Can you see here? This is lying between 3.605, then 3.791, then 3.890. So it lies between these two, almost all between, or we can say 9 and 10%. This is also possible because 3.846 is bigger than 3.791 and smaller than 3.890. So your 3.846 which you have got by dividing the initial investment with the cash inflow, and you are seeing that this 3 point, that is nothing but like a return. Correct? See, if I invest 100 rupees and I am getting 10 rupees as a fixed amount every year. So if I divide 100 with 10, okay, 100 rupees with 10 rupees. So what am I saying? The project life is for say example 5 years. For say. So this is the way to see the return, okay, like what you are earning at the end of the project's life, okay, and what we see is 3.846 after dividing 1,50,000 divided by 39,000, the cash inflows, you're getting 3.846. You can do it and see. Excuse me. Yeah, are you dividing this 1,50,000 divided by 39,000? How much you got? Hello.
3.846.
Yeah, 3.846. Now we have to come to the annuity table and see 3.846 lies between what two rates? That is lower rate and higher rate. That is what we want to see. We have to see one lower rate and we have to see one higher rate. Okay. So 3.846 lies between this two. That means in 5 years, this is the factor. Okay. Now, so they are saying clearly that 3 point. So when we divided this with this, the result is this. Then we saw the present value of annuity factor table, and in 5 periods, when we moved down to 5 periods, we saw that 3.846 lies between 9% and 10%. Okay, so this is between these two. So what is the average of 10 and 9? Please tell me. Is it 9.5?
9.5. Yes.
Yeah, 9.5. So what is your hurdle rate? What was your required rate of return, minimum return? 8. And what is on an average you are getting?
9.5.
So now, if the expectation is this and you're getting this, so can you accept the project?
Yes.
Yes. So if the IRR of the project, which is nothing but the average of these two rates, a lower rate, which is 9%, and a higher rate, which is 10%. If the IRR is more than the hurdle rate, accept the project. Sure. Isn't it so? And
Yes.
if the IRR is less than hurdle rate, reject the project. But why? See, IRR is that rate at which your project's NPV is equal to what is the definition of IRR? The internal rate of return of a project is that rate at which the project's NPV is equivalent to 0. Did I say that? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Yeah?
Hello. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so if your the rate at which your NPV is exactly equal to 0 is your IRR. So if this IRR is more than the hurdle rate, that's what they're saying. IRR of the project is approximately this, halfway between this. Since this is higher than hurdle rate, this project is acceptable. And what they have done is, let's see, if the NPV were calculated using an 8% discount rate, that means if you do this question with 8% as discount factor, the NPV would be NPV of the positive annual cash flows of 39,000. That is what we are going to do is, we are going to take 39,000. We are going to take 8% as our discount factor, and we are going to find the annuity factor of 8% for 5 years. That is PV, present value, PVAF at the rate of 8% for 5 years. That is 3.993. And after that, when we deduct 1,50,000, we are getting 5727. Is it positive NPV or negative NPV? Is it positive NPV or
Positive.
negative NPV? Sorry?
Positive.
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 So when you get a positive NPV, the project is acceptable, na?
Yes.
And the common
Yes.
sense, what common sense says is, at 9.5% if you discount, you will be discounting more. At 8% when you discount, you'll be discounting less, correct? So the chances of getting a positive NPV is higher here, and the chance of getting a zero NPV is higher here, correct or wrong?
Correct.
Of course. See, if you just do the calculation here, instead of taking 8%, you take 9.5% and try to find out the annuity factor, you'll be getting this almost all exactly equal to 0. So what we say is, if your IRR is more than the hurdle rate, so here hurdle rate is 8%, for which you are getting NPV. What NPV? Positive NPV, because it's a smaller rate. You discount less. When you discount less, your positive cash inflows present value would be high. That means your cash inflows present value would be high. And if you discount at a higher rate, your present value of cash inflows would be less. Correct or wrong? Yes.
Yes, correct.
So here more reduction
Correct,
of
sir.
cash is happening. Now here less reduction of cash. So here more saving, here less saving. That's the reason why at 9.5%, if you find out the NPV, it will be equal to 0. That is your IRR. But if you discount at 8%, your NPV will be positive. That means you can accept a project with this rate. And if the project's NPV, if the project's hurdle rate is 11%, for example, then what? Will you accept or reject? I'm asking a
Accept as it
question.
is more than hurdle rate.
Yeah. See, your hurdle rate is this. Your IRR is less than the hurdle rate. That means your hurdle rate is more. Here the discounting will be happening even more, na?
Yes.
Here the discounting will be happening less. So here you will be getting 100% negative NPV, correct or wrong?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So here,
Yes,
see,
sir.
I'll just contrast. 9.5% you will get 0 NPV. 8% you will get positive NPV. 11% you will get negative NPV. Here the discount factor is the highest, so negative NPV. Here the discount factor is between these two, so here the NPV is 0. That's the reason why it is IRR. Here the discount factor is very less, so positive NPV, and this is always acceptable. So the condition IRR is here less than more than hurdle rate, you accept. IRR, if it is less than the hurdle rate, you reject. Okay, please write on this note. I'm coming in a second. Right. Homework చేసావా, right? Same time. Finished? Hello? Now, see some issues with the IRR method. Let us check. Problems with IRR. So reinvestment assumption. In the IRR calculation, cash inflows from the project are assumed to be reinvested at IRR, but that is not always possible, correct? It is not always the criteria, or always it is necessary for you to reinvest at the same IRR. So that is what they are saying. However, cash inflows may not be able to be reinvested at the assumed rate. If all the things always go exactly as per your assumption, then it is all right. But it is not the case. Always your assumptions, what you make, things won't work out in that way, correct? So if the cash inflows cannot be reinvested in IRR, then the calculated IRR will not represent the project's true rate of return. That is the problem with this. So the reinvestment assumption is always the project's cash flow should be reinvested at the project's IRR. Okay, but that assumption is not a realistic one, and the multiple IRRs are always seen. How? See, I will draw a graph. Why, instead of drawing a graph, I'll show you a profile here. See, this is the NPV profile. Okay, suppose I'm drawing a graph in this way. So here What do you mean by non-conventional cash flows or unconventional? You will be getting positive figures. Okay, I'll show you a graph. 2 minutes. See, you can see something here. Non-conventional cash flows. So here the investment has been done. It will be a negative cash flow as understood. It's understood fact. Here you got the positive inflow. Here you got the negative inflow. Instead, here was an outflow, it seems. So you see, whenever you have non-conventional cash flows, and when you draw a graph for that, as we have already seen in the previous class how the graph is drawn. Here on the y-axis you have NPVs, x-axis you have the cost of capital. So for a cost of capital, what is your NPV? You will be, it's nothing but you will be having cost of capital for 5%. If your NPV is 10,000, you'll be putting a dot here. Like that a graph is made. So here you can see there are two IRRs. That means this is a IRR and this is IRR. That means these are the two rates at which your NPV is exactly equal to 0. Do you think a project which has multiple IRRs can give you a decision making confirmation, or can it convince you for your decision making process? Please tell me. That means you will be puzzled that at which rate you can break even. Am I right? Please tell me yes or no.
Yes, sir.
So here 7% is a IRR and 35% is a IRR. That means this is the rate at which your NPV of the project is 0 and this is the rate at which your NPV of the project is 0. That means both of the rates give you the break even. That means your PV of inflows is equal to PV of outflows at 7% and at 35%. But which one we should take as a reinvestment rate, or which one is the rate at which our project we should accept? So that also we have discussed, more than or less than hurdle rate. But here we are very much confused because we are not getting a single rate, and this is creating a confusion. If you don't have a proper knowledge of IRR decision making, you know that the hurdle rate, if it is 10% and your IRR is more than the hurdle rate 35%. So will you accept the project or you will reject the project? You'll accept. Why? Because at this rate you get positive NPV, because this is a lower rate, and here the discounting what you will do will be less, more cash saving. Here the discounting will be more. So you understood that 35%, which is the project's IRR, is more than the hurdle rate. If you assume the hurdle rate to be 10%, and you can accept the project, but for that you should have a good knowledge. If you don't have good knowledge, you will make blunders. Correct? That is one of the issues. Okay, so that is one of the problems. And mutually exclusive projects, now let us understand this. Just give me a second. See, mutually exclusive project is nothing but out of two you have to pick only one. You cannot take both of them. Okay, so here since you have to take best of the rest, or out of two you have to choose the best, then which method would support you for your decision making with conformity, or which one would convince you, which method, and either NPV or IRR would look more convincing to you? For something to look more convincing, it should be technically very sound, and as we have discussed many times, NPV is more sound in its technique than IRR. How? Let's see. So sometimes project options are mutually exclusive. That means out of two, you have to select one. There can be many reasons: capital constraint, That means you have less capital. You cannot select 5 projects. You can take one at a time. There may be many reasons. That is, a company can choose only one project to the exclusion of all others. When projects are mutually exclusive, they frequently are of different sizes or have different cash flow patterns. And the information provided by IRR is not very useful for decision making. See how. Let's see. See, different size projects, when the sizes of the initial investment opportunities are different. You can see here the project we have taken is solar cell manufacturing plant. The investment done is 20 lakhs. Here it is mold manufacturing plant. The investment done is 2,50,000. Okay, you can check the difference very clearly. It's a very big project and a very small project. Maybe these two projects, when IRR was calculated, this is giving a higher IRR. That means the required rate of return here is 31.74 and here the IRR is 19.11. But when we look at the project's NPV, here the NPV is 3,91,968 and here the NPV is 1,92,105. What do you think? Here in terms of IRR, this project gives you a higher return but a lower NPV. Here in case of this particular project, the IRR is less but the NPV is high. Correct? Yes. Please tell me.
Yes, yes.
Hello.
Hello, yes, sir.
And your hurdle rate is 15%, na? And your IRR is 19.11%, which is more than your hurdle rate in case of solar cell manufacturing. So this is acceptable. Why? Because here NPV is also positive. Here also 31.74 is more than 15%. This is acceptable, but here the NPV is less. So let us see what is the conclusion they are drawing. Let us see. For example, since the IRR is a rate of return, a project with a smaller initial investment can show a higher IRR than a project requiring a larger investment, even though the project with larger investment has a higher NPV. Yeah, that is what we have seen here. That can happen. These kind of things you may come across when you will be becoming a financial manager of a company, and you would be given a task of like deciding which project should you choose when you will be having different size projects, and there would be a case from your company's management. They would say that we can go with mutually exclusive things only. That means we cannot opt for 2 projects. We can take one at a time because we have capital constraints. So there the task would be daunting task because you need to decide which is a better project. So how would you do that? For example, a company could build a plant for this much dollars to manufacture plastic molds, or it could build this much dollar plant to manufacture solar cells. Either they can go for this or they can go for this. Solar cells would be more profitable but would require a much larger investment in plant, technology and equipment than with the plastic molds. So following are the expected cash flows they are showing here. Let's see the pattern. The pattern is increasing cash flows, and here it is like even increasing cash flows. So from the following are the expected cash flows, NPVs with the required rate of return of 15%, the IRRs for both the projects. So each project has a positive NPV. So from NPV rules point of view, you can select both the projects very clearly, but this is giving a higher NPV. So more we would prefer this one. Okay. So if a company bases its decision, see, each project has a positive NPV and a IRR that is above the hurdle rate, which I explained you in the beginning itself. If the company bases its decision on IRRs alone, it would choose to manufacture molds because IRR is 31.74%, because it is giving a very higher it is more than your hurdle rate first of all, and you can accept any project more than hurdle rate. Correct? And here you can get a higher IRR than this. So here what happens? This is what happens if you discount your project's cash flows with 19.11, you'll get 0. Here 31.74, you'll get 0. Okay, but here if you discount your projects cash flows with 20%, 21%, then will you get 0? Please tell me. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
I'm asking a
Yes,
question.
sir.
I'll
Yes, sir.
just write one more time. 19.11, 31.74. So I'll give you a task. Okay, some case study. These are your cash flows. So 19.11, excuse me, is your IRR. This is more than the hurdle rate. Accept the project. 31.74 more than hurdle rate. Accept the project. What I'm saying you is here with 19.11 you'll get 0 NPV. With 31.74 you'll get 0 NPV. You do one thing, you take 20% here, 21%, and tell me what is happening here. Are you getting a positive NPV or negative NPV? Of course you'll get a positive NPV, correct? Hello.
Yes, sir.
You'll get a positive NPV na here at 21%. Why?
Yeah.
Because 31% is giving you exactly 0.
Exactly, sir.
So anything less than that would give you
Positive.
positive NPV. So here you are having a very good gap. Here the gap is very less. Okay. So this. So let us see what they are saying now. So based upon NPV IRR decision, you will select this 31.74 project. Okay. Versus, so because the IRR is this versus this for these solar cells. However, solar cells are more profitable by this, because when you see the difference between both the NPVs, you are getting more here. Therefore, the solar cell plant is more lucrative choice, even though its IRR is less than that of plastic mold plant. Okay, because NPV rule says you're getting a very higher NPV here and a very big difference you are securing here. So IRR is not reliable in decision making for mutually exclusive projects. Only which one is desirable, or which one is more reliable? Which one? Hello. Hello. I'm
Hello.
asking which one is more reliable?
NPV.
IRR or NPV?
NPV.
NPV, of
NPV.
course. Please go through this. If you've got any doubts, please ask me. Done? Hello. Hello.
1 minute, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
1
okay,
minute.
okay. Please take it.
Done, sir.
Okay. So here different cash flow patterns. Let's work out on that one. So IRR is not reliable for evaluating mutually exclusive projects. Very clearly this is explained now. Why this is not reliable? Because even a project with a smaller size is having a higher IRR, and a project with, here you can see, sorry, a project with a smaller size, here you can see very small investment, and here it's a massive investment. Very small investment, a very good IRR. Very big investment, a very less IRR. It can happen. I'm not saying that this is not a possibility at all, but when I have to pick one out of two, I have to go with NPV, technically more sound, more justified, and and I've seen that in both the cases it is more than my hurdle rate, so I can accept both. For NPV also I can accept like both the projects, but I need to take only one out of two. So when I have to take one out of two, when I see the solar manufacturing plant, it is giving me less IRR and a higher NPV, which shows me a more bigger cash saving, because NPV gives a very clear picture that here you can save more, or you can because your cash inflows are very higher when compared to this, because you can see here you're investing this much, but here the cash inflows are higher, and cash inflows can be higher based upon your selling strategies. Maybe you are selling strategies, or selling like whatever the strategy you have made here to sell your goods or generate revenue is working out more for you for this project when compared to this. The investment is less, of course, because it's a mold manufacturing plant, which is a very small product, but solar cell manufacturing is a big product. See, this is a diamond business, and this is an electronic shop. Of course, diamond is a very higher investment. Okay, and electronic shop is a smaller investment. But the magnitude of cash flows, what we expect. Okay, here if you're not able to sell even a single diamond in a day, and here if you're able to sell 10 electronic items in a day, that would show that this is doing well. This is not doing well. Correct? I cannot say that one diamond if I sell, that's more than enough. No, it depends upon how you generate your revenue and how your cash flows occur in your business. Correct? Here the cash flows are occurring with the increasing trend, as well the cash flows what we are seeing are higher cash flows. Okay, the revenues are high in this case. That can be one of the cases. Plus, you see the patterns. Here the cash flows are increasing only by 10,000. Here the cash flows are increasing by 50,000, and then 1 lakh. Here just 10,000. Are you seeing the difference clearly? Please tell me. Yes. Hello.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, Zarina,
Yes,
are you
sir.
following this? Smriti, you
Yes,
said
sir.
yes. Zarina, what about you?
I said simultaneously, sir.
Oh, I didn't hear. I'm sorry. So here you can see the difference of 10,000, just 10,000. Here again the difference of 1 lakh, and again 1 lakh. Here 10,000. So you can see here the differences are very less. Here the differences are very high between the cash flows. So this shows that here there can be more saving than this case. Okay, but IRR says you're getting a higher IRR here. That is puzzling us. That's not convincing. That's not looking convincing to us here, because the difference in cash flows is very high. We could really get convinced that this project would be doing better than this. Okay, so that's the reason why NPV is a far superior method. So the following example shows two projects, P and Q, both requiring the same amount of investment. This is a case whereby you're investing the same amount. Okay, that is 10 lakhs and 10 lakhs. Now let us discuss. And for the same length of time, that is for 4 years, but with very different cash flow patterns. Here the cash flow patterns are decreasing mode, increasing mode, correct? Which one is a better one always? Increasing mode or decreasing mode? Increasing trend cash flows are better or decreasing trend cash flows are better naturally?
Decreasing.
Sorry? Hello? You have started a business. You want your cash flows to grow every year. You want cash flows to decline every year.
Grow every year.
That's it. So this would look more convincing. Why? Because here every year my cash flow is increasing. Here my cash flow is decreasing. I'm not speaking about payback period method. I'm speaking about NPV IRR method. Okay. Now, even though my cash flows are increasing, my IRR is less. My cash flows are decreasing, my IRR is more. Being a mutually exclusive project, you can see increasing cash flows, here decreasing cash flows, negative. Even though whatever the difference is, I don't care. Here the negative, here the cash flows are very negative, but here the cash flows are very much positive. So I would always prefer this one, na, based upon IRR, based upon NPV rule, correct or wrong?
Yes.
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 Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Which one?
Yes,
Which
sir.
one I should? Which one I should prefer here? Q or P?
Q.
That's what.
Q.
Yeah. So based upon that, it is now. See, something they want to explain you. Let's read the points and understand. So the project P's cash flows are received early, whereas project Q's cash flows come later. Over the lives of two projects, project Q's net discounted cash flow is significantly greater than project P. However, IRR for project P is 20.3 is higher than project Q. The difference in IRR can be for what reason? They are saying they are saying when you invested the same amount, 10 lakhs for P and you invested 10 lakhs for Q. So why there is a difference in IRR then? When you invested the same amount, same investment, then why the difference? The difference can be due to many reasons. That is what they are justifying. This difference in IRRs is due to project P's cash flows being received earlier than project Q's cash flows. That is what they are saying. Why? My project P's IRR is differing with the project Q's IRR because one of the reasons is I have received a lot more cash in the beginning year in project P when compared to project Q, and there I have slowly I have received the cash flows, correct? So what would I have done here? When I received 8 lakhs, I would have invested that at 20.3%, correct or wrong? Yes. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Hello.
When I
Yes,
received
sir.
8 lakhs, I have reinvested it at what rate?
20.
20.3, because you know reinvestment assumption is there in IRR, isn't it so?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when I reinvested at 20.3, I would have got higher returns in this, correct? That is what they're assuming. See, this difference in IRR is due to project P's cash flows being received earlier than project Q's cash flows. So here I have received earlier, here I have received very lately, and here when I received earlier, I would have reinvested at this rate. That is the assumption. Now, below is the table showing the two projects NPVs at various required rates of return or hurdle rates. So they have found out the NPVs even at different rates for both the projects. At 25%, since this 25% is a hurdle rate and my IRR is 20.3%, which is less than my IRR. Okay, this is my hurdle rate. Sorry, my hurdle rate is 25 and my IRR is 20.3. So my hurdle rate is more than IRR. So I should definitely reject the project. Why? Because I'm getting negative NPV, correct? In both the cases, isn't it? So please tell me.
Yes, sir.
Here I can like I'm getting 20. I'm getting positive NPV because my hurdle rate is less than my IRR. I can accept. Here again I'm getting negative NPV because my hurdle rate is more than IRR. Correct? Here my hurdle rate is again more than my IRR. I'm getting negative NPV. Here my hurdle rate is less than my IRR, positive NPV. And again here positive I'll get because in both the cases my hurdle rates are less than my IRRs. Just have a look through this, then I'll go forward. Finished? Now, the table shows a number of significant facts. At hurdle rate of 10%, you can see both of them are same. That means you can accept any project. At 10%, you would be indifferent for project P as well project Q. And that rate at which both the projects are giving equal NPVs, even though you get, even though the cash flows you receive for project P at the beginning and you received your cash flows at the later stages for project Q. Even though that was the case, but at 10%, both are having same NPV, and that is called what rate? Crossover rate. So the hurdle rate at which both the projects give identical NPVs is called as crossover rate. The hurdle rate used determines which of the two projects has a higher NPV, and the dividing point is the crossover rate. So what are they saying? The hurdle rate used determines which of the two projects has a higher NPV. So at this hurdle rate, this project's NPV is higher. This is lower. This is higher. This is lower. This is higher. This is lower. But this is same. And at this hurdle rate, this project's NPV is lower. This is higher. Lower, higher. Okay. So the hurdle rate used determines which of the two projects has a higher NPV, and the dividing point is the crossover rate. Yes, the crossover rate has divided it. When discounted at hurdle rates higher than crossover rate, see, this is your hurdle rate and this is your crossover rate even. If you are discounting your so-called cash flows, which you have seen here, these are NPVs, these are cash flows. These are the cash flows. When discounted at hurdle rates higher than crossover rate, that means you can see here which project is a better project in both the projects, project P. Why? Because whenever I am discounting at 15% or 20% or 25%, I am getting, sorry, not 25. For 15% and 20%, I am getting positive NPVs. Please tell me yes or no. Please tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
For see, my hurdle rate is 10% now. My hurdle,
Yes.
the hurdle rate above this dividing point or crossover rate, if I take 15% as my hurdle rate, I'm getting positive NPV, and here also I'm getting positive NPV. But in case of project Q, I'm getting negative NPVs, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if you take this project higher rates than this crossover rate, the project is acceptable. P is better, but in this case, Q is better. Because when discounted at hurdle rates lower than the crossover rate, NPV and IRR give different results. project Q is more attractive project according to NPVs, though project P has a higher IRR. Yes, you can see here it looks more attractive, but what about the IRR? You see here IRR, this has a higher IRR. Okay, so again I'm explaining, this is my crossover rate 10%. Above this crossover rate, project P as per the NPV rule is a better project because they give positive NPVs and a higher IRR even when compared to Q. But below the crossover rate, whatever the hurdle rates you have, you get a higher NPV than project P, and it is more acceptable below the crossover rate. If you have these two hurdle rates, which project is more profitable or beneficiary for you? Project Q, and it has a lower IRR than project P, correct?
Yes, sir.
So when the timing of cash flows for mutually exclusive projects, that means you have to pick one out of two, is different. IRR can give varying results depending on the hurdle rate used. So NPV is more reliable again because IRR is creating more confusion. Here we can see clear patterns. Here when we are going below the hurdle rate, this is better. Above the hurdle rate, this is better. But here below the, see, when you see, if you are investing at 15% and 20%, project P is giving you positive NPVs. This is giving you negative NPVs, but below this it is giving you positive NPVs. So what they are saying here, when discounted at hurdle rate lower than crossover rate, NPV and IRR give different results. Project Q is more attractive project according to NPVs, though project P has higher IRR. So that is what it is. Okay, so any case project P is more better project. Why it is more better? See, in these two cases, both are good. Why? Because this is also giving you positive NPV, this is also giving you positive NPV. But here the IRR is also more. So the problem which is getting created here is, since we have two different results of IRR, even though we have done an investment of equal amount and we have two different NPVs, we are not able to decide which one to finalize. But at the end of the day, the project with the higher NPV is only acceptable. So that is what they're saying. You trust more on your NPV rule. Okay. So here when we see the crossover rate, NPV profiles on the crossover rate, same question, same values. So following are the NPV profiles for project P and project Q. Notice that project P's NPV profile line crosses the horizontal axis at approximately 20%. See, this is project P. This is exactly crossing at this point. When your project's NPV line is this, and this is the rate 20% at which your project's NPV is exactly equal to 0. So this is what it is called IRR. Correct? Please tell me. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes,
And here 14.3 something will get. This will be your project Q's IRR. This is your crossover rate. So following are the NPV profiles for project P and project Q. Notice that project P's NPV profile line crosses the horizontal axis at 20, which I showed you. So project P's IRR is actually this and Q's is this. So that's what they're showing there. Okay. So now today whatever we have discussed, please go to that. Tomorrow we will do finding the crossover rate, and the conclusion what we have drawn today is, whenever there is a mutually exclusive project and if you have to select any one out of two, What is the most reliable method? If you tell, I'll write on the screen.
NPV.
NPV. Yes, Smriti?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So please go to this today, and tomorrow we'll do a question how to find out the crossover rate. That kind of question you can expect in the exam. Okay.
Okay.
Sure.